Beruchim haboim. Welcome everyone. We're about to begin Be'ezras Hashem together on Daf Lamed Beis Amud Aleph. Starting with Lamed Aleph Amud Beis, 15 lines from the bottom at the new Mishnah. When a person wants to be koine mokom shvisa with erev tachumin, he may do so ayidei shaliach. He himself does not have to be present by putting the erev tachumim down. He can use a shaliach. However, our Mishnah states there are certain types of people that cannot be used as a shaliach. Says the Mishnah, Hasholeach eruvoi biyad cheresh shoite v'katan. If a person sends his eruv through a cheresh, which is defined as a deaf mute, shoite, an imbecile, or a katan, someone who's not of age bar mitzvah, then it's not going to be a valid shlichus. Oy biyad misha eino moide be'eruv. Or if he's going to send the eruv in the hands of somebody who is not in agreement, that means he is koifer in the takanas chazal. In both cases, eino eruv. It's not going to be an eruv in the first set of people, cheresh v'katan, because you cannot rely on them. They're not going to be a valid shaliach to make that kinyan. Whereas the reason why somebody's not moide be'eruv, somebody's koifer in the takanas chachamim, is because again, you cannot rely on him since he's somebody who's not nizhar in fulfilling the laws of the Torah Sheba'al Peh. However, if you appoint somebody else to accept, to receive that eruv from one of these aforementioned people, then hareze eruv, then you can rely on it as being a good eruv. Ask the Gemara right away, v'katan loy. A katan cannot be used as a shliach for an eruv. Ask the Gemara. V'ha'om Rav Huna katan goyves ha'eruv. Behold, Rav Huna tells us that a katan can then collect for an eruv. So how come our Mishnah states otherwise? Answers the Gemara, lokashya kan be'eruve techumin kan be'eruve chatzeros. That which our Mishnah is talking about, of course, is erev techumin. That which it states over there that a katan could be goyve is referring to erev chatzeros. He can collect the bread from all of the houses and then put them in one house to make erev chatzeros, because all he's doing is adjoining all of the people that live in the erev chatzeros together. They already have a chelik in the chatzer. But over here by techumim, the person has to acquire shvisa. He has to be koine the shvisa. That a katan cannot do for him. The Gemara then mentions that the Mishnah says, "Obiyad misha eino moide be'eruv." Ask the Gemara, man, who is this one who's not moide be'eruv? Omar Rav Chizda kutoi. We're referring to the kutoim. A kuti is somebody who follows the Torah shebichsav, that which is explicit, but that which is not explicit because it's given through the Torah Sheba'al Peh, including Takanas Chachamim, he does not follow. The Mishnah goes on to say, "V'im omar la'acher lekablo yehemenu hareze eruv." If you appoint somebody else afterwards as a kosher shaliach to then mekabel, to then take that eruv from either the chereshot of katan or the kuti, then it's going to be a valid eruv. Ask the Gemara, "V'leichush dilma lo memati le." Let us be concerned that maybe it will not go into the hands of the shaliach that's kosher. In other words, maybe the chereshot of a katan or the kuti did not give over the eruv to your shaliach. Answers the Gemara, Keda Omar Rav Chizda be'oimer v'royehu. We're talking about somebody who sees, the one who sent the shliach looks to see that the chereshot of a katan or the one who was not moide in the eruv gave over the eruv to his shaliach. Hachanami be'oimer v'royehu. V'leichush dilma loy shakil minei. Ask the Gemara, but maybe the one who took it, the one you sent to take it from these people, did not take it and place it in its proper place. Answers the Gemara, Kedam Rav Yechiel, as Rav Yechiel taught somewhere else, Chazaka shliach oise shlichusoi. Hachanami chazaka shliach oise shlichusoi. We have a chazaka that one who is sent as an agent on your behalf, he will perform that shlichus. You can rely on him. And therefore over here too as well, when he was sent to take that eruv and then put it in its proper place, you can rely that he did so. Ask the Gemara, Vehecha itma Rav Chizda Rav Chiel. Where did Rav Chizda and Rav Chiel say their statements that we had just mentioned now? Oho itma. It was stated on the following: the Tanya Nasinoi lepil v'halichoi lekoif v'halichoi. If one gave an eruv either to an elephant to take, or he gives it to a monkey to take, Ein ze eruv is not going to be a good eruv. They can't be your proper shliach. V'im omar la'ach lekabeloi heimenu harei ze eruv. If you send somebody, however, else who is a kosher shliach to then take from either the koif or the peel, then it would be a good eruv. Ask the Gemara, maybe it would not get into the hands of your shliach, meaning the koif or the elephant did not give it to him. Or Rav Chizda, this is where Rav Chizda said a statement. He's standing there, the one who sent his agent, and he sees that it was given over to him. Maybe your shliach, your agent, did not receive it and then put the eruv in its proper place. On that, the Gemara answers, Rabbi Chiel, this is where Rabbi Chiel said his din, chazaka shliach oisa shlichusoi. We have a chazaka that a person will fulfill his shlichus that was sent by his mishaleach. Rav Nachman, now there's a machlekes, when do we rely on this chazaka? Rav Nachman states the following: Rav Nachman, b'shel Torah ein chazaka shliach oisa shlichusoi. When it comes to a Torah matter, we will not rely on this chazaka and say that the shliach is oisa shlichusoi. B'shel soifrim chazaka shliach oisa shlichusoi. However, in a rabbinic matter, that we could rely on a shliach as being somebody who's going to fulfill his shlichus. On top of Lamed Beis, Amud Aleph. The Rav Sheish is Omar. Rav Sheish is cholek on Rav Nachman. Echad zeh ve'echad zeh chazaka shliach oisa shlichusoi. Whether it's a matter that's midiraisa or midirabanan, we can say the chazaka can be relied upon. A shliach is oisa shlichusoi. Now the Gemara wants to then prove that this is so. Where do I know to say that even min haTorah we can rely on this chazaka? Says the Gemara Disnan from the following Mishnah: Mishekorav ha'omer hutar hachodesh miyad. The carbon omer is a barley offering, flour that is made from barley, which is brought on the second day of Pesach on the 16th of Nisan, and that omer is matir, the new grain. And therefore it states over here in this Mishnah, one who is makriv the carbon omer, immediately the chodash is able to, the new grain is able to be eaten. The Mishnah goes on to say, those who are distant from Yerushalayim, who do not know, did not see whether the carbon omer was brought, they are permitted to now eat the new grain, the chadash, after Chatzois Hayoim. V'ha chadash de'raisahu v'ktani harechayki mutar mechatzois hayom ve'elach. And Rav Sheshes says, you see from here that although we're talking about a inyan of deraisa, it's a mitzvah deraisa and a prohibition to eat chadash if it's before the korban would have been brought, since indeed they could eat, those who are rachek from Yerushalayim who did not see that the korban was brought, they can eat it after chatzois. La mishum chazaka shliach oisa shlichusa, do not then prove from here that even min haTorah we rely on this chazaka of shliach oisa shlichusoi. Rav Nachman is doiche the proof. Hasam kediktani taima lefisha yoidin she'en bezdim es atzlim boy. There it states in the Mishnah itself that the reason why those who are rochek from Yerushalayim can eat chadash after midday is because the bezdin, we can rely on the bezdin who are not going to then push off and procrastinate. Therefore, they're on top of the kohanim as your shluchim. And therefore, you don't have the chazaka of shliach oise shlichusa mideh araisa. There are those who say that Rav Nachman actually brought this Mishnah as a proof for himself that you cannot rely on the chazaka min haTorah. Rav Nachman min no aminallah. Where do I know to say that it's only a chazaka midirabanim but not midiraisa? Diktani The Mishnah brings a reason why is it that those who are rochai from Yisrael can eat the new grain after Chatzos Hayom, is because the Bezdin are not misatzlim boy. They're going to be careful not to push things off, and therefore they'll be on top of the Kohanim. Diuk, Bezdin hu lo misatzlim boy, hashliach mitzatzel boy. Only the Bezdin is not misatzel, but a shliach would be misatzel, and therefore midiaraisa you cannot rely on shliach oise shlichusay. Rav Sheshes now brings another proof that midaraisa you can rely on a shliach oise shlichusay. Rav Sheshes omar loch bezdin ad plot. Oh, I'm sorry. Before another proof, Rav Sheshes then comes to then defend himself against Rav Nachman's argument. Rav Sheshes omar loch bezdin ad palge diyoyme shliach kuli yoyme. The bezdin, that which it states as a reason over here in the Mishnah that the bezdins are not misatzlim boy, that's in regard to chatzos. Therefore, those who are rochik can go ahead and eat the chadash even after chatzos. But in regards to the shliach, if it wasn't for the bezdin, even the shliach can rely on the shlichusoi, but it'll be a shliach that will be all day. In other words, they'll fulfill their obligation, which their obligation is during the day of Yud of Tes Zayin. Of Tes Zayin Nisan, that they'll fulfill bringing the carbon oimer, and therefore you can rely on the shliach oise shlichusoi. Omar Rav Sheshes mino amina law. Rav Sheshes now comes back and says, where do I know to say that again? Midi araisa chazaka shliach oise shlichusoi. The Tanya, for it states in the following brisa, ha'isha sheyesh alel leida oiziva, a woman who has the obligation, who just gave birth, to bring a carbon chatas and a carbon oila, and a similar situation when a ziva, a woman who had the tuma of a ziva, has to bring a carbon oila and a carbon chatas. Mevia mos v'noiseres b'shoifar v'toiveles v'oicheles b'kochim la'erev. She brings the money to purchase the birds for the carbon chatas and the carbon oila. She puts the money in the shofar, that was the pouch, the box rather, that was shaped like a shofar. It was narrow on the top and wide on the bottom, elongated in the middle to prevent anybody from taking out that money. And then she can go ahead and be toivel, and then at night eat kodshim. My taima, what's the reason? Rav Sheshes says, is it not because you can rely on this chazaka, and therefore it must be that the kaihanim, they're their shlichus. When the women put their money in the shofar, they were permitted to go ahead, not only be titoivel, and then even eat the kodshim at night. How could they eat the kodshim at night if not for the reliance on the kaihanim, that they brought indeed the korbanos? So it must be that we can say chazaka shliach ois shlichusa midi araisa. Comes along Rav Nachman, he's doiche the proof. Rav Nachman hasam kid Rav Shammai. There, the reasons like Rav Shammai expressed. The Omer Rav Shammai, chazaka ein bezdin shekayhanim oindim misham ad sheyochlu kol moishe b'shofar. There's a chazaka that the bezdin of kayhanim, not the shlichim of kayhanim themselves, but there's a bezdin that stands over there. They do not get up from their position before ensuring that the money that was brought and put into the shofar was used to then buy and to then bring up the korbanos. And therefore, you don't have a proof that you can rely on the shliach ois shlichusoi, because over here we're talking about the bezdin of the kohanim. Omar Rav Sheshes mino amina lo. Rav Sheshes now wants to bring another proof that min haTorah we say shliach ois shlichusoi. The Tanya, when somebody sends somebody else and says to him, you can now take figs from my fig tree. The din is that he's able to eat the figs be'oifen arai, since these figs are not yet chayiv and trumas and maisrus. They haven't then been completed by then taken off and made into a kri, a pile, and smoothed out. They're not yet chayiv and trumas and maisrus. So therefore, it's permissible for somebody to eat them be'ofen arai without taking trumas and maisrus. U'ma'asrun vadai. But if he eats it ba'ofen kavua, let's say not only as a snack but as a meal, then he must be mafrish trumas and maasros vadai. Here, the one who sent him, the owner of the fig tree, and allowed him to go ahead and take figs, he does not know how much figs the person ended up taking. So certainly he did not be mafrish trumas and maasros, and therefore the one who was taking and eating ba'ofen kavua must then be mafrish trumas and maasros bevadai. Molei lecha kalkala zu te'enim timinasi. The second case the Brisa brings is if he tells him, take this basket and fill it up with figs. The din is also oichel mehen arai. If he eats it be'ofen arai, again, it wasn't yet chayv in trumas and maasros. Therefore, he can eat it without taking trumas and maasros. Uma'asrun demai. But if indeed he eats it be'ofen kavua, then here we say that he has to take trumas and maasros mi demai. Over here, it's only a suffix because since the owner does know how much the person took because he gave a kalkala, he gave a basket, so he knows how much the basket fills of figs, how much it could be filled up with figs. So therefore, the assumption is that the giver did take out trumas and maasros, and only misafek, the one who ate ba'ofen kavua, will take out maasros b'demai. Now, what's the difference between taking maasros demai or taking maasros vadai? Because when it comes to taking maasros demai, so when he takes out the meiser ani and the meiser rishon, that means the meiser ani that goes to the ani and the meiser rishon that goes to the levi, those don't have kedusha, and therefore, since there is nobody to claim and prove that that meiser belongs to either the levi or to the ani, therefore he's permitted to eat them himself. Whereas when it comes to the meiser vadai, when he's mafrish the meiser rishon for the levi or the meiser ani for the ani, that he must give to the ani and to the levi. Then the Brisa goes on to say, "Bamed devarim amurim." When is this so? Be'am haaretz. We're talking about the latter case of malei lecha kalkala zu. When is it true that he must, when he eats ba'ofen kavua, take meiser from the demai as a demai? Be'am haaretz, when the giver, the owner of the fig tree, was an am haaretz. Aval bechaver oichel ve'eino tzorich la'aser. But if it was a talmid chochem, then Rabbi says that he can go ahead and eat without even taking meiser, even from demai. Those are the words of Rabbi, Divrei Rabbi. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel oimer bamed mamurim be'amoretz. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel says, when is it true that he has to take meiser demai when he eats it ba'ofen kavua? That's if the owner was an amoretz, just like Rabbi had said. But where is it? But he's choylek if it was a chaver. Aval bechaver eino oichel she'ashe ya'aser. But unlike Rabbi says that he does not have to take meiser, according to Shimon Gamliel, he says he does have to take meiser when he then is eating be'ofen kavua. In other words, he would have to take meiser vadai. Why? Shelo nechshedu chaverim litroim shelo min hamukaf. Because the chaverim, the talmidei chachamim, are not suspected of taking truma from a different place. And since the figs were on the tree when he instructed him to take the figs, therefore he could not have taken himself the meisters from that fig tree. Therefore, the assumption is he would take it from a different place. And says Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, he would not, are not suspected of taking lo min hamukaf, because if it's from a different place, then there's a concern that maybe those fruits from another place do not really exist. Maybe they were finished up, unknown to the owner who wants to be mafrish them. So therefore, according to Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, it comes out that if indeed they do, it's the chaveim that do give, is the owner of this tree, then the one who then takes the figs would have to be mafrish, trumas and maasros. The Brisa continues, Omar Rabbi nirin dvorai midivrei abba. Rabbi says, it appears that my words, in other words, my position is correct over my father, Hashem Gamliel. Mutav sheyechashdu chaverim litroim shalom min hamukaf v'lo yachilu la'ameyaretz mitvolim. Because it's better for the Talmidei Chachamim to be suspected of taking maasros lo min hamukaf from a further place that's not present, than being suspected from giving somebody grain, in this case figs, without taking Trumas and Maisris from it, because maybe the person would himself not take Trumas and Maisris, whereby they're eating tevil. So now that concludes the brisa. So as Rav Sheshes now to then conclude his proof. Ad kan lo pligi ela de marsav nechshedu marsav lo nechshedu. Rav Sheshes says, until now, Rebbe and Rav Shimon were only arguing whether you say nechshedu or not. In regards to nechshedu, so Rebbe says they are nechshedu, whereas Rav Shimon said they would not be nechshedu. That's their machlokes. Aval kuli alma chazaka shliach ois shlichusoi. But everybody would agree that a shliach would oiseh shlichusoi. That means that even Shem Gamliel would agree that if it wasn't for the concern that they're not nechshod for taking out trumas and maisus lo mina mukaf, they would certainly fulfill their shlichus. So everybody agrees, even in a case of mid'oraisa, that shliach oiseh shlichusoi. Comes Rav Nachman as doiche the proof. Rav Nachman hasom k'Rav Chanina choizo. He says like the following: the Rav Chanina choizo chazakahu al chover she'eno moitzi dove she'eno mesuka mitachas yodo. There's a chazaka. He says that a Talmid Chacham would not be machshil somebody else, and over here that's why we'd rely on them, not because shliach oiseh shlichuso, but because a Talmid Chacham does not want to be machshil somebody and be over the iser lifnei iver lo sotin michshol, and therefore they would never give their own produce to somebody without being mafrish, trumas, and maisris.